What's going on, everybody? Unfortunately, there won't be much in the way of gameplay going on tonight. I'm feeling a little under the weather right now, kind of like the first step of getting sick. I probably look really flush in the face, so I'm not really feeling too great, so I'm going to try and take it easy for a night. But first and foremost, before I get started, I would like to thank I Am Ryan Little on Twitter. He's the one who made the music that you're listening to right now. You should definitely follow him on YouTube. Check him out on Twitter. He's made a lot of really great music, definitely on the rise. So if you like what you're listening to, go hit up his channel, give him a subscribe. Really cool guy. Now, the topic of tonight's conversation comes from TR Train of Chicago, Illinois. He tagged me in some questions. I guess you can count this as the mailbag segment for this week. So if you have questions that you'd like to ask, hit me up at cxragnarok@gmail.com. Please include your gamer tag and the city you're writing from. So Train asks, Ragnarok, you're going to Frosty Faustings, right? I am. I have some questions. Okay. It could be my first time going to a tournament, and since I live in Chicago, I guess that would be a chance to get something started since I've never been to a tournament. I just have some questions as a beginner for now. Alright. What is the latest to register, and is there an age limit? How do you deal with nerves? What do you pay for besides registration? Are there setups pre-tournament, or do you just find people with a setup? These are all really good questions. Now, I'm going to address that as well as some other, I guess, frequently asked questions about going to tournaments. So I guess first and foremost, registration. Frosty Faustings, if you guys don't know, is a regional tournament that's held in Chicago around this time every year. So I believe it's January, let me look it up, January 26th. Let me look it up real quick, because I'm actually going to be there. So if you see me, wave me down, come say hi. Yep, so January 27th through the 28th in Chicago. Now, as far as the registration question's concerned, you'd have to look on Facebook for that, or at least the event page for Frosty Faustings. Typically, when it comes to tournaments, the closer you get to the tournament date, the more registration becomes. So you want to basically pre-reg as soon as you can. I think I covered that in my 50 minutes pilot episode a few weeks ago. I don't remember what the cost is for Frosty Faustings right now. I imagine it's not going to be too bad. It is a regional tournament, so it's not going to bankrupt you or anything like that. Let me pull up so I can kind of keep on track here. So, un momento. Let's see. Is there an age limit? I don't believe most tournaments have age limits. I've seen Kiltron at a few of them, and I know he's not super old. I've seen a lot of young kids at tournaments competing actively. Generally, they are with their parents if they're below 18, but I don't know if that's a rule. Certain tournaments might have age restrictions, Evo, for instance, but honestly, I don't know. I've never really run into that before. I don't really think there's an age restriction for most tournaments, if any, necessarily. What do you pay for besides registration? Okay, so that's a good one. Tournaments are composed of two fees, usually. You have the registration fee, which basically acts as the venue fee. That could be 40, 50 bucks. It just depends on the tournament. And then you have the cost per game you're playing in. So other than the registration cost, you have a separate cost for every game that you compete in. I think the average price is $10 per game. I think that's what Frosty is, that's what KIT is, I believe, maybe even Combo Breaker that was just announced. So if you're going just to compete in one game, you have the registration, which I believe for Frosty may be around $30, so 30 plus whatever the game might be, 10 let's say, so 40 bucks gets you in as a competitor. Now, some tournaments have spectator badges that are generally cheaper because you're not actually playing, you're just going there to watch and maybe play casuals. But for the competitive player, you're always looking for the registration plus the game being played. So that's the answer to that. What do you do to deal with nerves? What do you do to deal with nerves? I drink. I like how the music stopped when I said that. I didn't even plan that, but I'm serious. I generally go to the bar, and there's usually one near the ballroom, or I might have something on me. You know, you didn't hear it here. but I'll generally have a small little shot. And I know that sounds irresponsible to say that you should be drinking before pools, but I'm not saying you should go and get completely wasted at the bar before you play. I usually just have one little shot, or maybe just a bottle of beer, to take the edge off, because until you become, I guess, a seasoned tournament player, you're always going to have some form of nerves in your stomach, because you're thinking to yourself, holy crap, I just paid an ungodly amount of money to come. I don't want to go 0-2. Who am I playing? Oh my god, I'm playing Forever King in round 1. He's going to mop my shit. You know, then you start thinking more about who you're playing and the fact that you're surrounded by hundreds of people, and you're not really concentrating on the fact that you're there because you've been training for this and you want to do well. So, generally a drink, one, to take the edge off. But I mean, some of the players have different means. I mean, I know some guys who listen to music. You see them when they're playing on stream. They have their headphones on. They're not listening to the game. They're listening to their favorite tracks. Some people smoke cigarettes. And cigarettes, yes. Cigarettes. And so, I mean, drinking, smoking, listening to music, you know, whatever you do to take the edge off, you know, I don't really want to hear about it, but whatever you do to take the edge off is generally going to work for you. To fight the nerves, basically, just follow my example if you want, and I just have a small drink. Now, if you're not old enough to drink, then you'll have to find something else. So, that's what I do, anyway. Are there setups usually pre-tournament, or do you find people with a setup? So that's a really good one, and I kind of want to go over that. In my experience, most tournaments have an area for casuals before the tournament starts. So if it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, generally Thursday night, maybe even Friday morning, there's usually places for casuals. I never rely on the tournament to have casual setups, because it is not their responsibility to provide to you a casual station to play on. So I always bring my own, or I'm with a group and somebody has one. You definitely want to go with that, because one of the things you'd want to do is play as many casuals as you can before the tournament and even in between rounds. Now, when a tournament starts, every station provided by that tournament mode. So there's really no place for casuals. So if you have your own, then you can stay warmed up. And you need to stay warmed up, because there are tournaments where you could play a match in pools and then not have another match for 30 to 45 minutes. When I went to EVO 3 years ago, my pool for Street Fighter started at 10 o'clock in the morning. I didn't play my first match till 10:30. I played my second match at 11:30. So that whole time I'm sitting there standing with 2,000 other people just waiting. And by the time I got to play again, I was already cold and I lost. So that's kind of on me. Now, some players can stay warmed up in that mindset for hours at a time in between matches, but at the time, I was not one of them. I don't even consider myself one of them now. So if you can, bring your own setup, or travel with a group where somebody has one. You know, set it off to the side, make sure there's always somebody watching it, because you never know. Some people might try to pull some shady shit and walk off with your stuff. So go with the group that has one, or bring your own. I never leave any tournament since I got this puppy. This, my pride and joy. I take it to every tournament I go to now. Oh, and that reminds me, if you do not play on one of these, a gaming monitor, check it out, this would be a monitor with very low refresh rate, this is just one example, then you should get yourself one, especially if you're planning on being a competitive tournament player. Because I can tell you, for 6 years, I played, and you can't see it because I'm not going to pick it up and carry it, on this big-ass TV that has a ton of input delay. Now, when I'm at home, playing online or whatever, that works just fine. I don't play on it now for obvious reasons, but it worked just fine. But when you go offline and you find yourself playing on these, having come from a giant television with tons of input delay going to a small monitor with no input delay, it will screw up your timing. You will drop every combo and punish, and you will lose horribly to the tournament player sitting next to you who plays on one of these all the time. So if you don't have one of these, I'd recommend investing in one, especially if you're going to compete actively. If you can't for whatever reason, and hey, we don't all have it like that, so it's understandable if you can't get one of these right now, then that's all the more reason to travel with a group that has one of these so that you can practice, or get to the tournament as early as possible so that you can play casuals for a long time to get used to the difference on a low lag monitor. So kind of cover that up. Alright, so that covers registration, setups, take the edge off, a couple other small little notes just before we wrap this up. Now, when it comes to competing at tournaments, there are always ups and downs for players. One of the things I'd really recommend is don't set super high expectations of yourself, especially if you've never competed, let alone offline. I myself have been guilty of this. I know other people have as well. You've been playing online, and that's not a bad thing. I'm not shunning online players, but you've been playing. You're like, yeah, I'm really good at this. I'm going to go to this tournament. I'm going to get top 8. I'm going to win. Yeah, first time out the gate. And then you go 0-2, or you go 1-2. And then you end up sitting by the pool outside of the ballroom recording a video in the hot ass sun talking about you don't really know what you're going to do going forward, or if this is even for you. If you look back far enough on CEO, that was me. So if you've never been to a tournament, never competed, don't even concern yourself with getting top 8. Remember that when you go to these tournaments, you're spending a weekend away from the troubles of life to meet friends, meet people you've never even, maybe you've talked to them online or played with them online. You're meeting them offline, face to face, getting to know them. You're playing casuals and you're having fun. That's ultimately what it comes down to. It's creating an experience you're going to remember forever. 20 years from now, you might not remember that you got top 8 at NEC and you have a nice medal sitting on your shelf, but you're going to remember all the people that you met and all the people that helped influence you as a player and the friendships that you forged that lasted, years and years and years. So don't set super high expectations of yourself. Just go with the intent of having fun. Think of it like playing sports, for instance. When it's your first year on the team, you're probably not going to be a starter in most cases. You're going to be on the bench. You're going to be watching everybody else play and having fun. And you're going to be learning what they're doing. Now, the coach might put you in for 2 minutes at the end of the period or at the end of the game so you can kind of feel what it's like to be in the game. But that's just for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then the game is over. That's just like your first tournament. You'll go, and chances are you'll go 0-2. You'll go 1-2, so you won't be in there for very long. But if you take the steps to get better and learn from that experience, the next tournament you go to, you might go 2-2, or 3-2, or 4-2, or however many rounds there are for the tournament size. Just like you would in sports. That first game you go in, you might go in for 2 minutes, and as you get better, you'll go in for 3, and then 4, and then 5. Next thing you know, you're starting. And that would basically be like a top 8 player. You start, and you compete throughout the whole tournament until top 8, top 16, however far you really want to make it. But it's a process. Not many players go to their first tournament and go top 8 immediately. I mean, there are some exceptions, but most people bomb. That's just the reality of it. And if you focus on that too much, then you lose sight of why you went in the first place. And that was ultimately to have fun and try and do well. So one of the things you should do is when you win or when you inevitably lose in your first tournament is ask yourself why I lost. If you have some friends with you, give them your phone and say, hey man, can you record me while I play? I want to look back at this later and see what happened. And you might not even play on stream, and that's going to be the only way you have of looking back at your matches to figure out what went wrong. And in doing so, you're already taking the steps to become a better player, so that the next time you come into that scene and that tournament, you'll do better. But it's a process. It's not something that happens overnight. And the more you focus on your results, the less fun you're going to have. And then, what was the point of even going in the first place? You're not going to want to go anymore if it's not fun. So, Not to bring the mood down, but have realistic expectations of yourself. And another small note, when you go to a tournament, you are there to have fun, but remember, in competing, you have certain responsibilities to yourself as a player. Now, Vegas, when I went to EVO, that same example, the first night I was there, all of my friends that were in the room with me wanted to go out and party. And I couldn't blame them. It's Las Vegas. I mean, hell, most of us had never even been to Vegas, let alone at night. So we're out on the strip, and it's about 9:30, 10 o'clock on a Friday night, no less. So it was hot as fuck. So around 9, 10 o'clock, I look at my watch. I'm like, okay, I gotta dip. I got pools at, 8, 9, 10, whatever it was for Street Fighter, for Soul Calibur, whatever it was. I'm gonna head back. They stayed out late. I didn't blame them. It's Vegas. Again, we're there to have fun. But those same players you see who are out till 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning are the ones that are hung over in pools and dropping like flies left and right. Again, not every player. Some of the more seasoned ones and the better ones can get past all that, but you want to get a good night's sleep because you're there to compete and have fun. But first and foremost, you have to get through the competing. Then you can go out and do whatever after the fact. And the last thing you want is to be hung over in pools and go 0-2. And that brings me to what you should be eating. Now, I'm no dietitian, trust me, I'm a heavy-set guy myself, but one of the things I do, personally, is I have a light breakfast. I don't like to eat too heavy, because if I eat too heavy before pools, then I'm kind of lethargic, and I don't really want to do that to myself. I want to be alert, have energy, but not weighted down. So, I mean, if the hotel has a breakfast bar, just get the continental breakfast or whatever the equivalent is and call it a day. Don't get suckered into that breakfast buffet and pile your plate high with pancakes and strudel and whatever else they have, country potatoes. Maybe get a little because those are really good, but eat a light breakfast. That's what I'd recommend. So, to kind of recap on everything, get a good night's sleep, eat a good breakfast, don't set unrealistic expectations for yourself. Get one of these if you can, and if you can't, travel with a group who has one. And if no one in the group has one and you don't have one, then get to the tournament as early as you can to play as many casuals as possible before the tournament starts. If you have one of these, then wear that motherfucker out. Play on it as much as you can. Play on it before pools, in between matches, because you never know how long it could be before your next match. That being said, don't have this way off over there and your pools are over there because you don't want to miss and get DQ'd when you were literally right over there. So get one of these if you can. If you can't, don't worry about it. Get there early. Enjoy the tournament. Again, it's a convention. You're there with hundreds, thousands, generally, of other gamers. There's artwork. You can get dynamic custom beadworks of your characters. Those things people see. I got 2 of them in my bedroom back there. But, get the nice beads of your characters. Get the fancy artwork. Meet the voice actors. There's all sorts of things to do at these tournaments after you're done competing. So enjoy. Have fun. Register as early as you can to keep the cost down. Remember that registration, there's also the cost of playing the game. And that's really it. I mean, enjoy yourself, have fun. And one other thing I do want to quickly touch on is if you, I don't know how to really put this. If you see somebody that is a recognizable figure in the scene at a tournament, and if they're not busy, then go over and say hi to them. I mean, I'm kind of a socially awkward person, so sometimes it's hard for me to really approach people I haven't met before in person and talk to them, but most of the time they're down to meet you. I've met Maximilian Dude at 2 different tournaments, and he's always, hey man, how's it going? Shake your hand. You can talk to him, ask him questions, and they're really down to earth people. I met Katana Prime for the first time at CEO, and I was kind of like, oh my god, you're Katana Prime. I'm, no one's heard of me. Great to meet you. I'd wanted to meet others too, but it was just kind of hard for me to do that. But if you see them, just be like, hey man, I'm a big fan, or don't even, just walk up and say hi. Don't be starstruck, because most of the time they're happy to meet people who come out and support the scene. That's what you're doing. So Go say hi. If you see me at Frosty Fostings or KIT, I'll be the tall dude in the BXA jersey. You come over and you say, hey, what's up, Rag? Or hey, I saw you at a tournament, or I saw you on YouTube, or I saw one of your videos, or whatever. Just walk up and be like, hey, man, what's going on? I'm guarantee I'll be happy to meet you. So, not that I'm a celebrity, but I'm just saying, if you see me, come say hi. So, anyway, that kind of covers this episode of the mailbag. So, thank you, TR Rain, for the questions. I think it was very informative. I've never really done something like this before. That's why I'm stammering and umming and pausing a lot. So the more I do it, the better off I'll be. So again, if you have questions about the content that I put out, whether it's character specific, matchup specific, or you have general questions about competitive players and tournament things and whatever, email me at cxragnarok@gmail.com. Please include your player tag and your I did it again. Include your player tag and city that you're writing from, and I'll be happy to get to it as soon as I get the time. Ibrahim Gentoki, don't think I haven't seen your question. It's kind of a weird matchup that you asked me about, so I'm kind of compiling some second opinions. I'll get to it as soon as I can. Anyway, I'm Ragnarok, BXA Ragnarok, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.